Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Unfuck Your Relationships podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Panning, and this is episode 224. And today I'm going to be talking about life lessons from a people pleaser and a recovering people pleaser. As I spoke about in last week's episode, I kind of talked about how I never really resonated with being a caretaker. And I would say the same for being a people pleaser. I never really resonated with that term because I can be quite boundaried, but that was a learned behavior. And really how that showed up for me was I've always had a very funny relationship to anger. I, growing up, had quite an explosive temper. And so then related to my anger that it's destructive, right? And that boundaries create a lot of distance, and you can't just say no. And when you say no, it has to be done with like brute force, essentially. And I judged that part of myself for decades. And I thought that part was so wrong. You know, the part of me that could be destructive, that was really angry, that would set boundaries with brute force. And it wasn't even boundaries, it was walls, right? But what I didn't realize until a couple of years ago was getting to that point that it was because I wasn't recognizing, like if you think about like a pot on the stove, I wasn't recognizing where I was at a simmer. I was waiting until my pot was boiling over and overflowing onto the stove and creating a mess. And then I'm like, oh my God, because the heat was turned up too high, right? So what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. I dated a guy a few years ago, was in a relationship, and he was house hunting. For him, I was not living in the house. I was not contributing financially to the house. We were not moving in together. So it was just his house, right? And we spent months house hunting. Every single Saturday was spent looking at houses. And what really ticked me off was that he would be looking at houses. Oftentimes we'd be going to like open homes for houses that were, 200K outside of his max. And so to me, that's a waste of time. If you're seriously looking at buying a house, don't get me wrong. I love an open home in $1 million mansions. Like I love that. I love to go see that. It feels expansive to me. That's not what was happening, right? It was like, oh, let's just go see. Why? What's the point? It's out of your budget. Like, that's whatever. Okay, so we do that. I'm already like annoyed because this is every Saturday. And the thing is, I don't even know, reflecting back on it now as I talk about this, I don't even know if he was asking me to go every Saturday. I thought that he just expected that of me. I don't think we ever actually had a conversation about that. So there's another thing. And so he finally buys a house. And I'm like, yay, congratulations. Happy for him, happy for me, because I don't have to go house hunting every Saturday now. So I think, great, we've got our weekends back. Nope, now he's going to renovate. So now we need to go look at tiles and flooring and carpet and paint and toilets and just all of these things. And I'm like, oh my God, please, no. But again, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be bitchy. I don't want to seem selfish. I want to be excited for him and this journey of buying his first home and getting to renovate it and getting to furnish it. So I'm trying to be a good partner. And I remember this day like it was yesterday. And we'd spent all Saturday looking at all those things that I just said, right? The furnishings and carpet and whatever. And we're in one of those like kind of homeware centers where, you've got all the different, the tiles and the carpet and the windows, like all the different stores all next to each other, right? So we'd gone from store to store to store to store to store. And it's like 4:45 in the afternoon. And so the shops close at 5. And I'm thinking, oh, thank fuck. We're finally done. And we're walking out to go to the car. And he goes, I just want to go in one more place. I lost my shit. I was like, no, nope, no, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. And this is still me trying to keep it together. I'm done. Then we get in the car and he's basically like, oh my God, like, I just wanted to go in one more place just to see. And I lost it. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I have spent every fucking Saturday for the past 6 months looking at houses, and now it's looking at fucking toilets and carpet and paint and all these things. And I think we broke up like that night or like a week later. But that was a moment of me people pleasing, thinking I'm quote unquote doing the right thing for months on end. And then finally, my shadow pops out of being angry and destructive and selfish, right? And so the way that shadows work, it's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater, right? It takes a lot of effort to hold it down, and it's like you're wrangling with it and the waves are happening, and then all of a sudden, boop, it pops out and you're like, oh my God. You know, of course, I felt so ashamed of my behavior. And again, go, see, that's why I can't trust my anger. That's why I can't trust the part of me that wants to say no. And see, you were so selfish, because I actually was in that moment. But that's because I refused to acknowledge when I was at a simmer, when I was frustrated, where I was irritated, where I was annoyed. And there is part of, you know, in a relationship, there's going to be things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you're like, I'm doing it because you're my partner. Like, I don't care about going to see this fucking house, but like, I'm excited for you, and that's great. But you need to recognize when you're overextending yourself and overfunctioning, and that's the point to pull back. Now, something I hear a lot of with my clients, and this is how I experienced it as well outside of that scenario, right, was being really generous and forgiving and all of these things, but then people treat you like shit. People will treat you how you teach them to treat you. And of course, you're not giving, you know, a PDF with, here's how to treat me, here's how my standards are. People treat you the way that you allow them to treat you. If you have no boundaries, guess what? They're going to walk all over you. And if you set boundaries, but your boundaries don't have consequences, that's not a boundary, that's a preference. And so you need to recognize that your energy is precious, your time is precious, your heart is precious, all of you is precious. And you need to become deeply discerning about who gets access to you. So this is a conversation I've been having with one of my clients inside the experience, which is around, you know, whether it's a family member or a partner or a friend, right? It's not necessarily black and white about if they're not meeting your needs, cut them off. Could be. It absolutely could be. And in a romantic relationship, it might be that. But let's take the example of a friendship, right? So if you have expressed that you have this certain need, maybe it's for like, you know, consistency in communication, and they are unable to meet that need, and you have had this conversation several times, then maybe they don't have a place in your life. Or maybe it's not as, you know, extreme as that, but maybe it's, you know, I have my friends that are in my inner circle, and there's only a few of them. Like, I could count them on one hand, right? There's only a few people that are in my inner circle that I'm going to share everything about my life with you. I trust you. You have like full access to me, whatever. Then there's other people where I'm like, you're fun to go get a drink with, go for a walk with, like grab a coffee. I'm not going to be telling you my deepest, darkest secrets. Do you know what I mean? Because, and that could be something where if you've had a consistent conversation with someone and they're unable to meet your needs, but there are other really beautiful aspects of the connection, maybe there's someone that's more on the periphery and not in the inner circle, or maybe they don't have a place in your life. So people will treat you how you allow them to treat you, right? And so again, your boundaries need to have consequences, and the consequences is usually around limiting access to you. The other thing I learned as a recovering people pleaser is that just because someone is in pain or has experienced trauma does not mean that they get to treat you like shit. Let's stop excusing bad behavior. You can have compassion for someone and also know that they have no fucking place in your life. you can have compassion and empathy for someone and understand their trauma and also set boundaries and say, no, this is not okay. I understand that you're hurting, but you do not get to speak to me that way. And if you continue to speak to me that way, I will no longer be engaging in this relationship. I feel like that point is pretty self-explanatory. Stop rescuing people. If you're in pain, I feel for you. Do the work to get out of it. I have. What are you doing? Right? Like, it's not my job to be your therapist. And this is the thing where it's like, give back responsibility to other people. Their emotions, their actions, their behaviors are their responsibility. They need to clock it. They need to own it. They need to clean it up. It's not yours. It's not your mess to clean up. Let people clean up their own mess. Okay? And on that, just because you've said no, or you've actually cut someone out of your life, or you're protective of your energy, or you're discerning about who you have around you, does not make you a bad person. Okay? It does not make you a bad person. People are going to have their projections. People are going to have their stories. People are going to have their thoughts about you, about what a selfish, bitch you are. I don't know why I spelled that when I swear on here all the time. Let them have those thoughts. That's okay, right? And again, this is not permission for you to act like an asshole either, just because you're in pain. This is about actually carrying yourself with high standards and knowing your worth and knowing your value. That does not make you a bad person. If you know your intentions, you know your intentions. It does not make you a bad person for being protective of your energy and for setting boundaries. And on that, people don't necessarily share your intentions. People don't share your intentions. People don't share, where you're coming from all the time. And again, that's theirs. That's theirs to deal with. Manage your expectations of other people and allow people to have their process. Like, I'm willing to be the villain in someone else's story. I know where I'm coming from. I'm sure I'm the villain in someone else's story. Maybe I'm the villain in your story. You're like, how dare Michelle say this? It's interesting because, just a little side note, I asked in the Connected Woman, because we just started, at the time of me recording this, we just started last week. And I asked them, well, they do a welcome video, right? And so most of them were saying like, I found Michelle because I was listening to the podcast, and I've been listening for a year, 2 years, 3 years before I made the leap. I knew that I wanted to do the Connected Woman, but I was just like waiting. I was waiting. And so I asked the question, I was like, what is that? I'm really curious. Why was it that it took you so long to join the Connected Woman when you knew that it was the right program for you? What did you need to hear? Was it price? Was it wasn't the right time? Was it you felt like there was too much going on? Was it you felt you didn't trust me or whatever? And it was really interesting, the responses that I got, because a lot of them were like, I was really triggered by you, right? I was really triggered by you and your podcast and how direct you were and what you were saying. And I was like, that's really interesting. So I share that because I'm like, I might actually be the villain in your story right now, but question that, right? And that's your work to do. I'm not sitting here concerned about all the people who are triggered listening to this podcast. I'm not like, oh my God, I don't want to say the wrong thing because what if I upset someone? I'm like, that's yours to work through. I'm so glad that I was able to offer something that evoked something within you and agitated a shadow within you so that now you have the opportunity to look at that and transcend that, right? And whether that means you come work with me to do it, amazing, or it's on your own, I don't recommend that route, but because I'm really like, oh, when you feel the trigger, that's the opportunity to lean in, not to lean out, right? So if someone's triggering you, look at that. If I'm triggering you, look at that. I don't even know how I got on this, but here we are. The other lesson that is so important that I have learned is not to gaslight my own feelings. And what I mean by that is, if it's a big deal to you, it's a big deal. Just because, like, if you bring something to me and are like, this thing really upset me, if you're my partner, just because I wouldn't react the same way and I wouldn't, like, to me, it's not a big deal. But if I've said something that's hurt you, that's for me as your partner to look at, okay, cool. Like, it's a big deal to you, therefore it's a big deal to me, because I want my partner to feel heard and seen and loved and cherished. That does not mean I'm now responsible for your emotions, but this is the thing, like, if it's a big deal to you, it's a big deal. And you deserve a partner or people in your life who care about that, who care about the fact that it has hurt you, right? And there's two sides to this, where you can look at, if everything is a big deal, where are you potentially looking for where people are going to disappoint you or let you down or betray you, or you are just looking for chaos and everything is a big deal and everything needs to be a conversation. It's like, that might be an opportunity for you to just do more internal processing. But if you're a people pleaser, it's probably about actually bringing it to this person and saying, you know what, like, this actually was a big deal, because this is something I did all the time, where I would go, it's not worth the conversation. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth even bringing it up, right? And if it's a big deal to you, it's a big deal. Another lesson that has been really, really, really important for me to learn is proof over promises. Proof over promises. Trust is built over time. Okay? Whilst you can have a very strong connection, and I believe you can fall in love really quickly with someone, trust is built over time. Trust is built through actions, like actions aligning with words. It's one of my favorite things about my partner. I believe that, like, when they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. You know, we're at the time of recording this, we're literally headed to Fiji tomorrow. And that's because they said, I want to take you on vacation. Like, that's oh my God, that's so funny, because people keep saying this, that I say vacation instead of like holiday, because in Australia, you would always say like, I'm going on holidays, but like North America, where I'm from Canada originally, I would say like, I'm going on vacation. But they said, I want to take you on holiday. We're going on holiday. And that might seem like, you know, whatever. Or even, actually, I'll give a smaller example. Every time that we have a date, like we're going out on a date, whether it's dinner or we love Topgolf, I get a calendar invite with what we're doing, what to wear, you know, or like the dress code or whatever, what time I'm being picked up. And I trust that they're going to follow through with that, right? It's those little things, actions aligning with words. And this is something that I have overlooked in so many relationships of, I would say, oh, it's not a big deal that they didn't follow through with that. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. And of course, life happens, but the people pleasing is saying, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So I believe proof over promises. Promises sound fucking great, but that's you falling in love with potential. I have fallen in love with potential way too many fucking times. I've fallen in love with a dream. I've fallen in love with a fantasy. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like, cool. I love that you're saying all of these things. They sound wonderful. And because this is something that men do. Side note. This isn't bad that they do this. It's just something to note. Typically, I'm generalizing, men will just try things on out loud. Okay? So saying something along the lines of, my mother would love you. And in your head, you're going, oh my God, he wants me to meet his mom. Nope. He didn't say that. He's saying my mother would love you. He's trying on. Ooh, how does that feel? Right? oh, talking about the future and whatever, just trying it on. So it's not about being suspicious of people and not believing people and their intentions and being like, oh, I'll fucking believe it when I see it, but also recognizing trust is built over time, right? Like the person that you've known for a week, whilst you may feel really intense feelings for them, and that's wonderful and fine, you actually don't know them. And it takes time to get to know someone and to see their actions aligning with their words over time. And that is called integrity. Another question that I think is really relevant for you to ask when thinking about, these life lessons as a people pleaser is when you go to do something, there's a couple of questions here, right? When you go to do something, that first question is, if I loved myself truly and deeply, what choice would I make here? Whether it's going to an event, setting a boundary, having a difficult conversation, ending a relationship, starting a relationship, whatever. If I loved myself truly and deeply, what choice would I make here? And the other question that I would ask is, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for them? And sometimes it's okay to do things for other people, right? This is not about becoming self-obsessed and entitled and, I deserve everything and I shouldn't have to give anything that's not a full fuck yes. Like I remember with my mentor a few years ago, Layla Martin, that's who I studied under. She was like, occasionally when your partner wants their feet rubbed, rub their fucking feet, even if you're not into it. Like, I don't love feet. My partner knows that, but I'm like, if they want a foot rub, like, okay, as long as I'm not abandoning myself, as long as I'm not like overextending, just do the fucking thing. But for people pleasers, it's, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for them? That's a really important question. I just had a conversation with a client of like, her whole career choice has been for her parents. And it's like, oh my God, how did I get here? And I was like, okay, well, if you could do anything you want to do and it was all for you, what would you want to do? And it was like a completely different industry. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. There's a lot of people who are living for their parents, living for their partner, living for the girls in high school, or just living for society of, be a good girl and get married and have children. And that's not that you can't do that, but am I doing this for me or am I doing this for them? That's a really, really important distinction to make. And then the last couple things that I want to share is around, listening to these sorts of things can bring up a lot of shame around where we have abandoned ourselves, where we have overextended, where we have been a people pleaser, where we have done it exclusively for them and not for us. And really walked away from ourselves. And part of the recovery of being a people pleaser is forgiving yourself. Like, the thing is, you're not people pleasing for no reason. You benefit from it, right? You benefit from it in getting safety, love, belonging, recognition, approval, significance, whatever it is. You need to discern that. But there's this little child within that is like, love me, love me, love me. And this is the way that you have learned to do that. And that can be changed. That can be shifted. That's like literally the whole fucking work that we do in the Connected Woman, right? So I've seen that it can absolutely change. And this is the other point, which is this is an ongoing practice. You're not always going to get it right. You're going to people please again. You're going to overstep your own boundaries. You're going to forgo your boundaries. You're going to set a boundary and then forget that there's a fucking consequence and be like, oh my God, So this is about putting in the reps, right? You don't go to the gym and do one bicep curl and you're like, I'm fucking shredded. Like, no, you got to go to the gym over and over and over. You don't do one workout and then completely change your body. You're like, no, this is over several weeks or months that you start to see change in your physical appearance, right? And it's the same thing with the internal work. It's not one decision that is going to change your life. It's a series of decisions that all compound, that in a year's time, you become unrecognizable. You don't even recognize who you are anymore because you're like, oh my God, there's behaviors that clients have brought to me and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot that. Like I used to do that. Right. And that's not shaming them. It's just like, I've shifted so much that I didn't even recognize, oh my God, I used to do that. Like I totally forgot. It feels like so far removed, right? Because I can have difficult conversations. I can stay regulated. I can lean in. You know, I've ended friendships. I have upped my standards. The way that I speak to myself, the way that I care for myself is vastly different to how it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's about putting in the reps over and over and over, and this will compound, I promise. And what I want to leave you with, because people are like, oh my God, but what will people think? The only people who are going to be upset with you setting a boundary are the people who directly benefited from you not having any. Okay? So let that land, that if people are pissed off at you setting boundaries, it's because they benefited from you not having any. Stand your ground. You can do it with kindness. Something that I feel I've really fucking mastered is my queen energy, which is like soft front, strong back, right? So I've got an erect spine, a strong back. I've got my own back, right? I've got my healthy masculine, but I'm also compassionate and understanding, and I can say things with kindness. You don't need to deliver things with disrespect or, you know, ignorance or anything like that. You can be compassionate and kind, and still, it's a no. Okay? So I'm going to leave this here. I love you all so much. We still have spaces for the retreats in January. So Awakening Her and Awakening Him. Truly, if you're wanting to transcend shit around people pleasing, self-abandonment, you feel like you're just stuck looping the same patterns over and over and over. You keep sabotaging relationships. You keep sabotaging friendships. You find it difficult to be close with people. You find it difficult when you feel space in a relationship. This is the space where you come to fully move past that. You dissolve these patterns in real time. Trust me, give me these 2 retreats and your life is gonna do a fucking 180. I've seen it with nearly every single client who has come into my field. And I'm like, if you actually do the work and you show up and you're real and you're open, I have no fear for you. I promise. Okay? The link will be in the show notes for that. I love you. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye.